And welcome everyone to another Smart Money Circle episode. I'm Adam Sarhan. With me today is Tom Ferguson, who's the president and CEO of AZZ Inc. Ticker symbol is AZZ. Tom, thank you so much for taking the time and welcome to the Smart Money Circle.
All right, thanks, Adam. Glad to be here.
So, Tom, I always like to begin. Can you please tell us your story and how you got to where you are today?
Oh, it's a fun story. My dad put me to work in his gas station, which used to be Humble, got bought by Exxon at 13, paying me 75 cents an hour. So I think today that'd probably be against the child labor laws, but taught me work ethic, which was great. Also, it taught me customer service and some mechanical skills, which served me well. Went off to Texas A&M, started in nuclear engineering, decided the only ones recruiting on campus at that time was the Nuclear Navy Submarine Service. And, nothing, I love the Navy, but I switched majors to industrial technology and distribution and got out of school, went into the oil patch, back to the work ethic thing. And also probably against a lot of the labor laws today. I was working 100-hour weeks because I was on salary, so I was the cheapest employee they had. Driving pump truck, nitrogen pump truck, oil field services, learned how to drive 18 wheeler, operate high pressure equipment, and back to, working with direct labor at all levels and working out in the patch, which led to me going to work for what became, well, it was Borg Warner Industrial Products. It was called BWIP when I joined it. They'd gone through a management buyout supported by Clayton Dubilier at the time. And I was going to be the service marketing guy because they were trying to convert more of their original equipment to the higher profit aftermarket services. So that's how I ended up at BWIP. Pump division. The way you moved up in pump division, three critical things. You had to have advanced education. You had to take an expat assignment because it was a global business. And then you had to switch divisions. And so I started in pumps after going to the Netherlands for a few years, came back in sealed. And shortly after that, 1997, BWIP merged with Duriron out of Ohio, became Flowserve Equipment, which was highly engineered pumps, valves, and seals. Moved to Irving, Texas, which is how I ended up back in Texas, even though I'd grown up in Austin. Wonderful run. Although checking off those boxes, I got to be the president of the SEAL division. And then I'm like running this beautiful 125-foot streamlined yacht. And as I joke, in 2003, I became captain of the Titanic, which was our pump division that had bought a pump company two times its size, and the integration had not gone well. So did that through 2012. Well, actually, in 2010, we merged both divisions together, reorganized. I retired in 2012, and after about 6 months, my wife goes, "Honey, we've been married 25 years, but we've only been together 10 because you've been traveling 235 days a year. You need to go find something to do." Hence AZZ. And it's just been a great run. I came here, signed a 3-year agreement, and that's almost 12 years ago now.
Wow,
So,
congratulations. What a great story. I love that. So let's talk about AZZ. Please tell us what you do, Tom, and
sure.
the little company, competitive advantages, anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, I'll start off with. So when I got here, the reason they hired me was because of my Flowserve experience in oil patch, refining, electric utilities, nuclear. And they had just bought a big welding solutions business that serviced both nuclear and refineries. And they bought Nuclear Logistics Inc., which was a nuclear parts component business. And they had all this electric utility support, enclosures, switchgear, bus, which I always call a big extension cord for power plants. Um, so that and they had a wonderful galvanizing business, but they hired me because of all of this energy stuff. So that's what we had. We went through, and I'll probably get into that a little bit later. But um, you know, AZZ today is very different. So it was just announced yesterday that 40%, our 40% of that Vail business, because we divested 60% of it to a company called Fernwell back in 2022. So they just divested or agreed to divest all of that electrical business for almost $975 million. And so we still own 40% of it. So very positive transition as we went through that transformation. But we became a coatings company coming out of COVID. We had decided we want to be a focused metal coatings company, grow our galvanizing business, which is galvanizing, powder coating, plating. And then we bought Precoat back in May of 2022, which is coil coating. So just think about sheet metal. If you drive by an Amazon warehouse, all of that gray, green, I'm colorblind. So whatever color that is, we probably painted it at about 500 feet per minute. And so that's our coil coating business. Galvanizing, if you well, another thing, your garage door, if it's metal, it probably was painted by us. So we paint sheet metal in all sorts of colors, configurations. We can make it look like wood grain finishes. Galvanizing, that's if you go down the highway and you see the guardrails and the kind of gray posts and signage and stuff, very good chance we galvanize that. We galvanize everything from transmission towers to poles to just we love stadium seating. So if you go to a football stadium and there's all that great even seating and rails, we probably galvanized it. So as I say, we protect metal for 100 years, and then our painting business paints it so that it not only is it protected, but it also looks good.
I love it. So your earnings are growing very, very well. So congratulations on the success. Clearly, you're doing a lot of things right, and the company's growing. So let's talk about risk management. Tom, how do you handle risk? You've been around multiple businesses and other industries. How do you handle risk, and what are some mistakes you see people make with respect to risk management?
Yeah, for us, risk, for me, bureaucracy is the enemy of risk. And if you're not taking risk, you're probably not innovating. You're probably not keeping up with the competitive market. So in our businesses, we try to minimize the bureaucracy, get the decision making to the people that are actually on the front line, the people that are closest to where the decisions need to be made. And so that's how we operate. And I'd say, as I joke, we have 45 galvanizing and powder coating business sites. And we basically go to battle 45 different places every day. And that's how we take care of the customer. That's how we price. And then to me, that's minimizing risk because it's a distributed model, but keep the decisions closest to the customer where they need to be made. Then when it comes to innovation, technology development, new strategies, new initiatives, we really we let the businesses, we obviously encourage brainstorming. I call it intellectual curiosity. We want leaders that pay attention that ask questions, not just of corporate, but their customers, their suppliers, their partners. And then we encourage that, let's invest because we're great cash generation. Let's utilize it to invest in our operations, invest in our businesses, invest in technology. We set up a lab at Texas A&M so that we have one of the only lab kettles so that we can test quickly on new solutions and things like that. But back to, we approve the capital, we budget, we have a good planning process, but then we want to turn our folks loose and encourage innovation, creativity. Also, as a public company, now from corporate, it's all about minimizing risk. It's all about report on time, report accurately, ensure compliance. But I'd say, so from a corporate perspective, it's mitigating risk, but supporting the businesses so that they're on the front line taking the risk. The mistakes I've seen is I'll just go back to it. You get too many layers of decision making. Committees do not make good, innovative decisions. Matter of fact, committees are designed to, squash those kinds of things. So we try to keep the layers, pretty thin, and keep the decision making with the people that understand what's going on in the markets.
No, I love that. That makes perfect sense. That's why you don't have layers and layers and layers. It takes forever to move. And then by the time you move, it's too late. And the people that are making decisions in that other scenario are not the decision makers. They don't have the market experience. What you're doing is taking all that fat out and just having the decision maker make the decision and own it and move. Makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
So next question for you, Tom. Let's talk about some timeless lessons. What are some timeless lessons you've learned along the way that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, there's a lot.
Please and thank you.
You,
Take
know, you,
them all.
you learn lessons from making mistakes, and And as I joked about becoming the captain of the Titanic, the first thing there was morale terrible. They haven't earned bonuses in 3 or 4 years. They've given up on bonuses. They're obviously not having any fun. As I joke, because we had about 11,000 employees in Flowserve and in those divisions. If you're not having fun at work, you know, you need to be doing something else. And so I love to communicate at all levels. So I'll finish off that one. But so going around to all the sites, and we had 33 factories, and I went to lots of different countries and stood up in town halls and had these bullets of what we're going to focus on. And at the end, it was, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to earn big bonuses. So it was critical, of course. You better earn big bonuses that first year, or all bets are off. And we did. And of course, that became the mantra. And for the next 9 years, we earned great bonuses. But I was just thinking about some of the other things. I love my first thing I do whenever I became a general manager, got promoted to taking a new business, and here at AZZ, first thing I did, I go have town halls, and then I have what I call skip level meetings, which means I skip my executives and I go talk to people and I have lunch with them, break bread, all the way from AP clerks to, directors of accounting to, business leaders. And I just like to get their input. It's important to understand, what are people feeling? How do they see the business? How do they see the role? Are they getting the support they need? And you can't get that through surveys. And at AZZ, we're about 4,000 people, 65 locations. So I just like to get out among them. And that's what I did when I got here. Two, go see 12 key customers, not necessarily the largest, but the representative ones. And I can tell you, I learned so much that this is just one of my things. I always do it now. I did it. Well, I've done it like 6 or 7 times, and then I like to go follow up with them. So did we improve? And I remember in Flowserve, I went to the customers like Fluor and Exxon and Shell and Bechtel, and they would tell me, "Boy, we're surprised you're here, Tom, because you guys are performing that bad. Your on-time delivery is terrible. Your quality is lousy, and you're always months late." And so I said, "Yeah, and I'm going to be back in a year and either face the music or, hopefully you'll reward me with more business." And sure enough, we were able to go back and but you have to have that consistency, and you got to hear it directly from the front line, because salespeople are going to color things. They're going to shade things, whether to the good or to the bad. But when you hear it directly from customer executives, you can act on it. And to me, that just streamlined a whole lot of time that it would have taken. I'll give you one example on our galvanizing business. Customers universally said, "Tom, we love your galvanizing folks. They're great. You give great quality, but here's our issue. We send you 100 poles and we only get 98 back. And after 3 weeks of running around, we end up with a commercial accommodation. What is wrong with you?" So we created a technology we call a digital galvanizing system. But one of the things we do is take photos before and after. Seems really simple, but now what we found was 90% of the time the customer didn't send us 100, they sent us 98. Now we've got the photo evidence to prove it. But all that came from that direct interaction with the customers. What's your biggest complaint about us? We now have virtually none of that. It's like, oh no, here's the photos that prove it. But that then led to all sorts of other customer interactions that we can improve our customer service, digitize things. So to me, it's know your people, understand them, listen to them. And as I always say, listen well, because the worst thing you can do is think that I understand what they're facing and whatever their role is. Yep, exactly. And I mean, and customers are the same way. They really just want somebody not to sit there and sell them, but to listen to them and find out, okay, you're the CEO of the company. What are you gonna change? And knowing that sometimes turning the ship takes a while, but they want to know that you're committed to it, and then see it from. And the other part is hire slow, and this because it's all about people. I mean, businesses are made up of people. We make great products and services, but at the end of the day, it's people that are making those decisions, people that are carrying out those activities. So hire slow, involve as many people as you can that benefit the process without slowing it down to a snail's crawl. Um, because my biggest issue is we get in a hurry, we read a good resume, um, and what I found is so often people that interview a lot interview well, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Whereas somebody may not interview well because this is the first time they've applied for the job, and so to me, I'm big on that. And then as much as possible, build that leadership bench, be able to promote from within. We now fill 85% of our jobs here at AZZ with internal promotions for management and professionals. And we've built that bench, we've built that leadership development capability, the process, continue to focus on that, intellectual curiosity and then developing people to step in. Those are some of the things I've learned, that I tend to fall back on in whatever my role is.
I absolutely love it. God gave us 2 ears and one mouth to listen, not to be just jabbing all the time. So I love where you're going here. All right. And you're an excellent communicator, by the way, and storyteller. So this is
Well, thank you.
really fantastic. You also have, the ability to listen, but you can also, articulate what you're saying and communicate very effectively, which is rare, but you have that talent and that skill. So I'd like to
I
commend you on
appreciate
that.
that.
So, Tom, next question for you. The flip side of the lessons would be timeless mistakes you've either seen people make. How do you avoid them? How do you learn from them? Anywhere you want to go with that, please.
Yeah, I think that, assuming things, because particularly as I've got 40 years of leadership experience, people say, oh, you've seen everything, Tom, you can see around corners. The trouble is, if you start believing you can see around corners, you're just setting yourself up to get shocked or surprised or crushed or for the next challenge. So I think not assuming, listening well, asking questions, and being willing to ask those direct questions, because I think otherwise you make a bad hire, you make a bad decision. Another big thing for me is not trying enough things. It's like honing in on, oh, this is going to be the next big game changer, instead of having three or four or five, you know, initiatives going so that you can know one of them may take off, versus if you put all your bet on one horse, that horse may not make it to the finish line. And now you're stuck. It's like, okay, now next year we'll do something different. So, having several significant initiatives that you're pursuing, give them time to play out, because the other thing is you pull the cord on them too fast and kill off something that can become a great opportunity because you just didn't stick with it long enough. And I think that's particularly in a public company, every quarter, it's like, well, do we want to stay with that investment? Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I got
Yeah.
to report that, this business didn't do so well. How often do I want to have to say that? And so give them enough time. Make sure you got enough support. Let them run in the dark for a little while, because sometimes if it was like typically, we've got a policy deployment process that we use, but I really don't want to see it except probably every quarter, because weeks and months go by and it could look really negative, uh, but you got to let it run. And I had one where this was just something I was told that when I first got here from the galvanizing folks, the most important thing, Tom, is zinc productivity. That's what drives all profitability. So we ran a simple Pareto, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, so explain, riddle me this. Our highest performing plant in perennially by far also has the second worst zinc productivity. How can that be? And it was a team that had just gotten themselves so locked into their metrics that they weren't paying attention to the reality. So what we found was that profitability for that plant was more focused on, they provided outstanding customer service and quality consistently to their customers, to the point the customers were willing to pay a premium price. Well, why was that? Because they retained their talent. Had nothing to do with zinc productivity. That was just something they did, but they ran complex things. And the plant manager would joke, Tom, I just dip it just a little bit longer so that the quality is always 100%. Yeah, it probably cost us a few extra cents, but at the end of the day, I got all happy customers. And it's those kinds of things where it would have been a big mistake because that tribal knowledge says this is the metric. This is what we run everything to. And not saying it's not an important one, but it wasn't the critical. And so, we here at AZZ, we had to pivot and create a culture where we could retain people, retain talent, attract better talent. It changed our galvanizing business, by about 700 basis points. I mean, not a little amount.
Wow.
And we
That's
picked up big chunks of market share. It's just customers. We use net promoter scores, and we just traditionally get eights and nines and tens. It's and we don't give stuff away. I'll put it that way. Nobody likes talking about, we call it value pricing, but if we give the customers the value, then they'll pay us our price. And so that's been a big part of our success, is building that culture that supports retention, that supports attracting talent, and then focus them on the right things and give them the support.
I love it. Tom, let's talk about leadership. What are some lessons you've learned about
Yeah.
leadership that you'd like to share with the audience? So, what makes a great leader? Anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, I think I gave some of them. It's like, management by walking around, communicating. I think there's, this is a strange one. You can over communicate sometimes and if you over communicate, certain things to reinforce it, then I think, people get bored with it. It doesn't resonate anymore. So particularly from the CEO's chair, hit the messages, cascade it through leadership, make sure that people understand it, make sure. So what I'll talk about our mission values and the culture we've tried to build, because to me, this is how a leader has to, we're not huge. But still, we're almost 4,000 people. We do, we're approaching 1.7, $1.8 billion in revenue. We service a lot of customers. So, making sure that we have a culture that supports and sustains this and continues to develop those leaders is critical. And I think, how you do that is all about, we call it, our mission is create superior value in a culture where people can grow and traits matter. And traits are trust, respect, accountability, excuse me, integrity, teamwork, and sustainability/safety. Because we're in hazardous, our facilities are basically hazardous places in what we handle. So keeping people safe is critical. As I say, we want everybody to go home with, all of the arms, legs, and fingers you came with. But as a leader, if you don't build that culture where people step up, next person up in terms of leadership, you lose a lot of that, because so much of what we were doing before was tribal knowledge, and so that develop that culture, have your mission, follow through on your values. We want people to come here. We want to grow them personally, professionally, and spiritually as a whole person, and give them that opportunity, and then wish them well. If they go to, we don't, if they're topped out here, wish them well as they go on to their next job. And then hopefully, maybe they come back and they're promoted to a director level, and they come back and help the company in 2 or 3 or 4 years. Also, use technology as a leader. So it's like one of our businesses, galvanizing, they basically had paper everywhere. So they had no technology. But they were on an Oracle ERP backbone. So we built out and we used our own partners to develop the code that called digital galvanizing system. Get rid of the paper because it's messy out of the galvanizing plant. Two, it engages with our customers. I mentioned just the photo thing, but I can also tell you that it eliminates routers. So embrace technology and use it to leverage. Particularly, we have scale. Most of who we compete with are mom and pop shops. I mean, there's some multi-site competitors, but for the most part, we're competing with one-off galvanizers. Let's use our scale, build out that technology platform, make sure that our customers, we're fully integrated with our customers. We're fully integrated with our operational partners, whether it's our zinc suppliers or the ones that provide us acids and solvents and stuff. So that just take time out of the equation using technology. And I think, if I go way back, we didn't have much technology at the gas station. We pumped gas and washed windows and oil patch. Like I said, there was technology, but it wasn't integrating information and supplying people with better decision making capabilities. Um, and then don't be afraid to make a decision. I've seen where committees get together and you analyze and analyze and analyze. And by the time you make the decision, the opportunity's passed, or a competitor's picked it off, or you just, or time's gone on and the market has now gone a different way. So um, those are my big ones.
Love it. Beautiful. Well, final question for you today, Tom. What is the best piece of advice you'd like to give the audience or give your 30-year-old self?
Oh, wow. Um, my third 30-year-old self, I think there's just a couple of things. One, I don't be afraid of taking on the next challenge. I think one of the things I did early on in my career was just sign up for stuff. I didn't even know if I had the capability, but take chances. Take chances and learn things. I think that was the biggest thing. And early, like taking a job in the oil patch, my mom was petrified. It's dangerous out there, and it actually was. But it's when you're young, take chances. As you get older, take chances. It doesn't change. I mean, and here's something that just sticks with me: have fun at what you're doing. If you don't have a passion for what you're doing, go find something else to do. I mean, I have enjoyed the not every day. There's days where you face adversity. There's days where you face challenges. There's days sometimes as a public company you scratch your head. What are our investors thinking? Don't they see all the value we're bringing? But uh, but yeah, it's got to be have a passion for what you're doing. You want to wake up in the morning. You can't wait to get to the next activity. You can't wait to get around your team and enjoy the people you're working with. I mean, it's that and oh, by the way, I can't tell you how many times I've actually had to terminate, executives, and later on in a different role, brought them back and they flourished.
Yeah.
So don't make sure you don't cut fences and there's no reason to end up with bad relationships. Particularly in art, we're kind of a narrow industry, so people tend to cycle through. That's just big for me. Is there's no reason to do that, and you don't know when that person's you're going to have the right role for them, and they're going to be exactly the perfect fit. I've got two of them here at AZZ that under different circumstances were in different roles and didn't flourish, and now they are. So what I gave you three things there, but
That's okay.
anyhow.
We'll take it all with a please and thank you. All right, beautiful. Well, Tom, thank you so much. This has been absolutely fantastic. Investors can learn more. The ticker symbol is AZZ. I'll have the website in the description of the link to the website. And hopefully we'll have you on again soon. Congrats on all the success.
All right. Thanks, Adam. That was great. Enjoyed it.